Imagine this. For the first time in human history, more diapers are bought for the elderly than for babies in some countries. Or imagine being 20 years old in 2050 and having to work not just for yourself, but for 3 other retirees. We built an economic system that only works if people keep having babies. But people stopped. The future isn't being shaped only by AI or politics. It's being shaped by something more basic: babies, or the lack of them. Around the world, birth rates are plummeting. Entire countries, Japan, South Korea, and Italy, are already shrinking. And when fewer babies are born, the math gets brutal. More retirees, fewer workers who are producing economically, and a system that stretches us until it breaks. This isn't just a demographic chart problem, it's a future lifestyle problem. Because if the population pyramid flips, the young won't just support their parents, they'll support entire nations of grandparents. Welcome back to Thinking and Being. If you like what you see today, please be sure to like and subscribe, as this enables you to see more content from myself and others just like this. And also, as you know, it's my pledge to make each successive video 1% better as we go. So I hope you look forward to that. So why this particular topic? You may have noticed it in your own town or city. Lots of new senior homes going up everywhere, while fewer schools are being built. I see it too, and I worry about my kids living in a world where they're working twice as hard just to keep things running. This isn't only an American problem, it's a global problem. And no one really talks about it, because the problem sneaks up slowly. But the consequences, economic slowdown, healthcare collapse, and eventually national security risks, are huge. That's why this video matters. To think about how population skew could reshape everything, and what, if anything, we can do about it. So first, let's talk about the demographic reality in the US and across the world in terms of the current state and trends. First, there's the population pyramid flip. For most of history, societies look like a pyramid. Lots of kids at the bottom and fewer adults in the middle, and a small slice of elderly at the top. But by 2050, in many countries, that pyramid will invert. Fewer young people, more elderly. Imagine balancing an entire society on its tip. That's the demographic cliff we're heading towards. And then there's a birth rate crash. As we know, replacement level fertility is roughly 2 children per woman. Almost every developed country, and many developing ones, are well below that line. Japan sits at 1.3. South Korea is at a shocking 0.7. And the US is at 1.6. Even China, once infamous for its one-child policy, is shrinking fast. This isn't just a dip, it's a collapse that no country has yet figured out how to reverse. And when we say shrinking, the population's still increasing, it's just increasing at a decreasing rate. And then there's the economic domino effect. Fewer kids today means fewer workers tomorrow. Fewer workers means lower productivity, less innovation, and shrinking tax bases. At the same time, healthcare and pension costs will skyrocket as populations age. Think about Social Security in the US. Already strained with today's ratios, what happens when 2 workers must support 1 retiree? The math doesn't work out for long. And this is a global, not a local problem. You might think this is only a Japan or Italy problem. But look around. Even Latin America's birth rates are falling. And Africa, for example, the last region with a youth bulge, is projected to slow dramatically over the next 60 to 70 years. There's no cavalry coming. The entire planet is converging towards a future with fewer kids and more elderly, especially because people are also living longer. And there's hidden social costs. It's not just GDP. A grayer society means fewer risk takers, fewer entrepreneurs, fewer soldiers. When the median age rises into the 40s or 50s or higher, entire cultures shift towards caution and preservation instead of experimentation and growth. The future stops being built. It just gets maintained. There's good reason why families aren't happening. The reasons pile up: financial stress, housing costs, work demands, student debt, delayed marriage, lack of childcare. In short, the system doesn't reward parenthood. It punishes it. And the fewer kids people see around them, the less socially normal having kids feels. It's a self-reinforcing cycle downward.
Mrs. Krabappel and Principal Skinner were in the closet making babies, and I saw one of the babies, and the baby looked at me.
And the first signs are already around you. You can see this already. More nursing homes and fewer playgrounds. School closures in rural areas. Shrinking college enrollments in the US, while the demand for elder care explodes. These aren't just statistics, they're daily signals of a massive demographic transition already underway. And as this video is part of a 3-video series mostly focusing on economics, building on my last video about white-collar collapse, and also building off a previous video I did a few months ago called Gen Z Crisis, I'd like to promote this particular book. If you're like me and you got a C in your freshman year in college economics, I was trying to understand things like, they keep saying we print money, but we know money is like digital. It doesn't come from anything. So when they make more money, it literally comes from nothing. It's all digital. So they just put more money in the digital systems. They're not actually printing money and like putting it out to people. It's not 1930 anymore. So money hasn't even been backed by anything since early 1970s. So it literally is backed by nothing, and it's only held together by trust. And it's basically like Bitcoin, except, in terms of... So if you're trying to understand what the heck is going on in our current society like I am, this book by Kyla Scanlon is great, called In This Economy, How Money and Markets Really Work. She is a rising rock star in the world of political commentary and economics, and you will definitely be seeing more and more of her in the future. This book is great because it explains things in a way that I can understand. It has easy to understand graphics and drawings, and it talks about different phenomena that are unique to today's environment, such as eggflation. So I'll leave a link to this book in the description below so you can check this out. Next, I want to get real about why we're just not incentivized to have kids anymore.
Crib, I'm a baby.
All right, I know how to handle this. Just use a little reverse psychology. Let's go, Marge. Leave the baby with his little crib.
First, incentives are broken. Think about it. Raising kids is the single biggest economic investment most people ever make. Yet societies treat it as a private luxury, not a public good. Families shoulder the costs: housing, education, childcare, healthcare, while the broader economy reaps the long-term benefit of having new workers. That mismatch kills motivation to start families in the first place. And then there's the denial of death factor. Ernest Becker, the American cultural anthropologist from the mid-1900s, argued in The Denial of Death that much of human culture is about distracting ourselves from mortality. Historically, kids were one of those distractions, our immortality projects. Think about it. The only way to really be immortal is to have children, and thus carrying our names and values forward. But in a secular individualist society, many people stopped seeing children that way. If death feels abstract, so does the urgency of creating life. And then there's the hedonic trade-off. Modern life subtly tells us experiences now over responsibilities later. Vacations, careers, personal freedom, all can feel more rewarding than the late nights with crying infants. Combine that with cultural norms that glorify self-optimization over family building, and you get entire generations delaying kids until the window quietly closes. Here's a classic systems thinking trap. The fewer kids people have, the scarier parenting seems. If no one around you has 3 or 4 kids, 2 starts to feel like a lot. And if everyone is waiting until their 30s, it becomes the cultural norm. Social proof, amplified by media and social media, turns hesitation into hesitation squared, a reinforcing loop downward. And then there's a financial trap. Kids today are more expensive than ever, unfortunately. Not just food or diapers, but the hidden costs. Housing in a good school district. Extracurriculars like travel, sports teams. College tuition that's ballooned 2 or 3, 4 times since the 1980s. Add in stagnant wages and student debt, and many young adults conclude kids just aren't affordable. The irony? That decision destabilizes the very systems that would support them later in life. Then there's Dutch sociologist Geert Hofstede and his cultural dimensions research, which showed that the US scores very low on long-term orientation. The translation is that Americans value quick wins over future payoffs. That mindset infects policy too. Politicians want results before the next election cycle. They want to get reelected. They don't want investment in a generation that won't vote for another 18 years. It's no wonder policies rarely support families. There's no short-term return.
Say it again, Lise. Bart. Bart, 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 Bart. I'm her first word.
Well, I'm not surprised. Lisa's crazy about you. She thinks you hung the moon.
Wow. Lisa, can you say Mommy? Mommy. Can you say David Hasselhoff? David Hasselhoff.
Can you say Daddy?
Homer.
No, sweetie, Daddy.
Homer.
And then there's the coming burden. The most immediate consequence is fewer workers supporting more retirees. By 2050, the ratio of working-age adults to retirees in the US could fall below 2-to-1 ratio. That means every paycheck from younger workers will be pulled in multiple directions. Higher taxes, soaring healthcare premiums, as if they're not already insane, and the indirect costs of slower growth. It's not just abstract, it's your kid or grandkid working twice as hard just to break even.
China's population will halve by the end of the century. The median age in Italy has reached 48. All around the world, birth rates are crashing. Is humanity dying out? What's going on, and how bad is it?
And if you want to learn more about this problem that no one is talking about, and that will most definitely affect your children and grandchildren, please check out Kurzgesagt on YouTube. One of the things that I do in my videos is promote other YouTube content creators. I do this because they have incredible, engaging, and educational content. They've inspired me to be on YouTube, and they obviously deserve some credit. So Kurzgesagt, their videos are super enlightening and interesting, covering relevant topics that at first may seem quite deep, but their illustrative methods and ways of storytelling allows you, the viewer, to understand even the most complex topics. They are highly objective and research-oriented, citing valid data sources throughout all of their videos. So I'll leave a link to the channel, as well as the video that inspired this particular video, entitled Why Humans Are Disappearing. Okay, back to this video. And then the third thing I'd like to talk about is what's next, and maybe some ideas on how to evolve our society and possibly prevent excessive population skewness towards the elderly. First, aim for balance, not a baby boom. The goal isn't to have tons of kids, it's system stability. Enough future workers and caregivers to support a dignified old age, strong institutions, and growing culture. Think of a healthy range, roughly near replacement, paired with higher quality of life for families. Frame the North Star as time, security, and meaning. Make family life less punishing and more possible. When the felt cost of kids falls and the felt meaning rises, birth rates stabilize without coercion. Next, make time affordable. This is about work reform. Parents don't just need money, they need time. That means predictable schedules, flexible and remote options, and a standard 32 to 36 hour work week where possible, supported by AI productivity, ideally. Pair it with paid leave for both parents, not just mothers, to reduce their career penalties. In Norway, their generous leave and flexibility correlate with higher labor force participation and more family formation. If AI is real, turn its efficiency into a family time dividend. And you can go back to my previous video on white-collar collapse to learn more about that particular topic. Next, make care abundant, child care and elder care. Universal or heavily subsidized early childhood care changes the math. For example, Quebec's low-cost childcare helped increase maternal employment. France's multi-pillar family policy has long supported families. We can do the same for elder care to reduce the sandwich generation crunch. In this way, we can invest in the care workforce, training and wages, expand public options, and encourage employer on-site care. Next, make homes possible. Family formation collapses when housing is scarce and small and completely unaffordable like it is today and will be in the future. To fix this, we can upzone near transit, we can expand ADU accessibility and family-size rentals, we can cut permit friction and incentivize multi-generational housing, such as low-interest loans for duplex conversions. We can create child-friendly streets, traffic calming and having lots of parks, and bundle transport and childcare credits so living near work or schools is viable. When young adults can actually nest, They will build families. And then we need to have lower upfront risk when it comes to money, health, and uncertainty. Stability beats slogans. Universal child allowance or fully refundable child tax credits. We can have birth grants or baby bonus tied to early years expenses, diapers, other care. We can have student debt pauses for forgiveness windows for early child-rearing years. We can have coverage for fertility care or IVF and maternal mental health, in which access reduces delay. There's precedence for this in Singapore and Hungary. Giving families cash alone isn't enough. Cash has to work with time, housing, and care reform. And next, rebuild the village from culture to community. This is a big one. This is one we've totally forgotten how to do in most parts of the United States. We need to normalize that it takes a village. Offer grandparental leave. Align school hours with work hours. Make youth sports and arts low cost and local. And revive community centers for family life. We need to shift the story. Not parenthood as martyrdom, but parenthood as meaning. Celebrate families of all shapes, adoption, blended, multi-generational. When belonging is strong, the psychic cost of kids drops, and the desire starts to return. And then there's potential pressure valves, migration and automation. In the short to medium term, welcoming younger immigrants, legally, with fast credentialing and apprenticeships, stabilizes the worker base and brings new energy. In parallel, target automation where labor shortages will be most acute. And recycle productivity gains into care subsidies and shorter hours. This isn't either or. Migration plus automation buys time while family policy flywheels start to take hold. Thanks for watching today. My 3 key takeaways are: time is the real baby bonus. Free it and families will grow. Next, make housing, care, and meaning possible, and birth rates will stabilize. And last, migration and automation can buy time, but culture and community will win the long game. So, do you think this will be a huge problem for generations to come? What other side effects in society did I miss? Comment below and tell us. If you like what you saw today, please like and subscribe, as it will keep content like this coming your way. And as you know, it's my goal to make this content entertaining and funny, enlightening and educational, as well as a bit nostalgic. Stay tuned, as we're going to talk about topics ranging from consciousness to physics to philosophy and psychology, as well as all the intersections between that affect your thinking and being. But until then, keep thinking and being, and do not go gentle into that good night.